Well, this is a very namaste-ing group. Thank you for participating in that and opening your hearts. Namaste, yeah. So the third way that we feed the soul this morning is through silence. In order to know what we're thinking, feeling, wondering about, I think it's important that we begin by being comfortable with the silence. Our lives are so busy, particularly living in Seattle when we're dealing with the traffic and all the stuff that there is to do, with all the noise, that it can sometimes be difficult to find the time and the place to become still. In 1 Kings 19, we read, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence." So with all the activity that is going around us, it is important that we stop and experience silence, because when we attach ourselves to world events, we lose our center and we become overwhelmed. When we attach ourselves to the problems and the experiences that we're having on a day-to-day basis, we lose our center and we become overwhelmed. And instead of being of service to others, we can't be service to others. We can't even be of service to ourselves, right? Because we're off center. Instead of bringing peace, we add to the chaos and we add to the disharmony that exists in the world. So because we live busy lives, it's important that we find ways to create space through silence, because it is the food that the soul hungers for. Silence is the food that replenishes the soul, and the truth is that sometimes silence can feel uncomfortable. Because when we are moving into the silence, it can sometimes feel like we're stepping into a void. And yet, it is from this void that creativity, divine ideas, peace, and love originate. And the more peaceful we are within, the more we can be a conduit for it in the world, in our families, with our friends, with our loved ones. Now, normally we do 5 minutes of silence. Today we're going to do 10. And the thing about practicing silence in community, I find, is that we're more inclined to hold the silence, right? When you go home and you sit on your cushion and you say, okay, I'm going to meditate for, 20 minutes or whatever, it's like, yeah, 10's enough. I'm out of here. I got things to do. But when we're in community, we don't want to disturb the person next to us, right? So we're kind of more inclined to stay with that and to hold that. And that said, we're going to have sounds, we're going to have noises, you're going to have itches, you're going to have thoughts that go, come on, I want to get out of here, and restlessness. And that's all part of the willingness to drop into that space. So for those of you in the room who are experienced meditators, I'm calling on you, not publicly, but I'm calling on you to really hold that space for the entire room. And how do you do that? You do it by holding it yourself, because it's catching. Because as you're holding this space, it helps me hold this space. When you hold this space, I can hold the space. And then if one of us is inclined to fidget or whatever, it's like we can just lean on the energy that is in the room. So if you have a meditative practice that you use, I invite you to use that as we go into silence. But basically, the idea is to simply watch your breath, right? When your thoughts wander, bring it back to the breath. So as we begin, we're going to chant in and we're going to chant out. So the first step is, if you would please prepare your body for 10 minutes of silence. So if it means you need to put something down, if you need to make yourself more comfortable, whatever it is that you need to do. And we begin that process of letting go. And again, there's no right or wrong. Well, there's no wrong way to do it. There's no supposed way to do it. So just allow yourself to be present.